If these predictions are wildly wrong, please feel free at the end of the regular season to come back and comment on this. Wow, you suck at predicting things. Please do. That's probably what will happen.
You said yourself you wanna do this alone. What if your dreams are making it hard to think?
Hey guys, I'm Victoria and I talk about all things hockey related from across the pond in Scotland, and today we are talking about my predictions for the Atlantic Division next season. So I decided I was going to rank the Atlantic Division, putting from 1 to 8 which teams I thought were going to finish where in the regular season standings within the division. So let's go, shall we? So the team that I think is going to finish right on top, the Tampa Bay Lightning, 100%. They've got Vasilevsky, they came close again to a cup last year, and they're one of the strongest teams in the entire NHL right now. Although they did lose some really important players, such as Palat and McDonough, they are still an absolutely elite team with a lot of experience. They've got arguably the best goaltender in the entire world right now, and they're just great at coming in clutch when it really matters. They're that team that just manages to pick themselves up when they have to, and they get the job done when it's really needed. So between their experience of recent cup success, just their high quality of a team, and in particular their strength in terms of goaltending, I had to put them in top spot, because I'm doing this as a neutral. Everyone knows I'm a Leafs fan, but as much as I want the Leafs to finish on top, looking at this from just a neutral perspective, I think that the Tampa Bay Lightning are the strongest contenders for the division title this upcoming season. Saying that, in second place, I do think the Toronto Maple Leafs might claim this title of second place. The Leafs should really be finishing in the top 3 this season when you look at their roster, especially given all their star players and their typical regular season success. The Leafs' problems aren't really to do with the regular season, they're very much to do with playoffs and postseason. So since this is a ranking of just regular season games, I think that they will definitely finish in the top 3, probably second. I put them in second rather than first because I think their goaltending is a little bit questionable. It's quite shaky. I've talked about this before. I've done a whole video on this. It could go really well for us, but it also might not, whereas the likes of Vasilevsky is a pretty solid bet. As much as goalies can go, he's a solid bet. So that is why I think the Leafs are slightly less likely to get the division title than Tampa are. The team is going to look a little different this season. There's no Campbell, there's no Mikheyev, there's no Lyubushkin, so the team might perform differently either way. However, with additions such as Ob Kubel, who I'm really interested in seeing, I think the Leafs look really solid for the next season. And as I said, I really think we'll finish in the top 3. I'll be really disappointed and surprised if we don't, but their goaltending is a little shaky. There are some gaps in the roster still too, so I don't know if it'll be top spot, but I do think they'll be perhaps in second place. In third place, so just in the top 3 spot, I think it will be the Ottawa Senators. I honestly think Ottawa won the off-season this year by a mile. They added DeBrincat, Giroux and Talbot, which are really significant contributions to their roster. Although there are some concerns about them defensively, their off-season additions add so much depth and so much more to their roster than they had last year. The Ottawa do seem like a really interesting team to me, and I think they have the potential to do really, really well. I'm not sure if they're quite at the standard yet of catching up with the Leafs and with Tampa, but you never know. It is a significantly better team they have than last season. I really think they're going to be the team that go up the most in the standings this year. They're definitely the most improved in the division by far, so that's why I think that third place could really be theirs. In fourth place, I've put the Boston Bruins. Unfortunately for Boston, they're plagued early on this season by injuries from the likes of McAvoy and Marchand, who are likely to be out for months, I believe. So they really have to make sure the rest of their team is up to scratch before Christmas. After there, I think they might pick up the pace a little bit more because their injuries won't be plaguing them hopefully as much any longer. But that bad start to the season might cost them a top 3 spot in my opinion. However, Boston have this amazing ability to just catch up when they need to. They're a very resilient team, and I just can't imagine them not being potentially in a playoff spot. That just doesn't seem likely to me. So I think that as long as they can stay steady enough up until Christmas and then into the new year, when they've actually got a stronger, healthier team together again, I think that they might clinch 4th position. I predict that in 5th place will be the Buffalo Sabres. So although they have been a rebuilding team, they very much have improved this off-season, and I'm not quite sure if they'll be at playoff level just yet, but I really think that they have had some amazing additions to their team, including of course Lyubushkin, a great addition to them. They've got existing players such as Cousins and Thompson who already were individually so good, and they do seem to have really improved in this off season, so I think they're going to be much better than last year as well. Not quite sure about playoff clinching just yet, but you never know. And one thing I can bet on is probably that the Leafs are still going to struggle to play against Buffalo, just like they always do. In 6th place, so getting into the sort of bottom of the bottom now, I think will be the Florida Panthers, which a year ago I would have been astonished at saying that, because I loved the Florida Panthers last season. They were an incredible team in the regular season last year. They were very enjoyable to watch. Jonathan Huberdeau was one of my favourite players last season in the non-Leaf category. But then they got swept in the playoffs by their rivals. So despite being good in regular games, they really flopped in the postseason. And if you're thinking that the Ottawa Senators won the off-season, the Florida Panthers lost it. Definitely. Losing the likes of Huberdeau, Giroux, players like that, significant loss to them. And although they have added players back in, I'm not quite sure they're the same calibre as last year's roster. So that's why I think that they're going to slide quite a way down the rankings this season, hence being in 6th place. In 7th place, I have got the Montreal Canadiens. And this is not like a chirp before anyone's like, you're a Leafs fan, of course you're putting them 2nd bottom. Other rankings I looked at had them like dead last, but honestly I don't think they'll be quite last this year. They've got a lot of prospects coming through and they are improving year on year. They are a rebuild team, that is the point. Their first overall pick of Slafkovsky is obviously a massive addition to their team, as well as adding Kirby Dach and also Dadonov. There are a lot of improvements to this roster. I don't think they're quite there to be reaching a sort of playoff position just yet. Their defense and their goaltending are still a bit questionable, and they're lacking a lot of depth that they're really going to need to go far. So although I think they will have improved on last year, I don't think they're going to finish last in the entire NHL this year. I really don't think that's going to happen. They have improved, but they are still rebuilding. So I think that in terms of a very tough Atlantic division, they might be in 7th place. And finally in 8th place, so last in the division, I have got the Detroit Red Wings. Now I could be way off the mark here. Detroit have made great changes to their roster this off-season, don't get me wrong. David Perron and Ville Husso being 2 of the most significant to me, but a lot of their contracts are a bit of a risky gamble. They're a little bit questionable. There seems to have been some pressure put on the rebuild phase for them to speed it up a little bit. I think they were going at a slower pace than people wanted them to be rebuilding. So they paid quite a bit for Husso, and they also gained Ben Sherratt, which Sherratt is one of those players that he's kind of a little overrated, a lot of people say. Not to disregard the guy, he is a good hockey player, but he is sometimes a little bit overrated, and it is kind of like they've tried their best to improve as much as they can, but I'm not quite sure it's going to be quite enough. Their record last season obviously wasn't great, so they had a long way to go, and I'm not sure that's something you can achieve in one off season. They do have the potential there, as I say. I think everybody in the Atlantic has improved on last year, so I had to put somebody last. I think everybody has improved. There's something about Detroit's roster that I'm wondering when we see it on the ice, it just might not quite match up to what expectations perhaps are. But the potential's there. The Atlantic is a tough division, and it's really tough to rank because, as I said, I've seen a lot of improvements in all the teams, but somebody has to finish last, and in my opinion, just based off my sort of logic, I can see Detroit sort of falling to last. So those are my predictions for the Atlantic Division standings by the end of the regular season. I will check back on this at the end of the regular season and see if I got any right. I guarantee you I didn't. I tried to do this from like a very neutral, non-Leaf centric viewpoint, which is tough because obviously when it's your own team, you want like the best and you want your arch rivals to do the worst. So I tried to take this as neutrally as I could, and this is what I came up with. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree with any of this, or do you think I'm talking absolute nonsense, which is totally fine? Please let me know your power rankings down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon with more hockey chats from across the pond. Bye guys.
I don't think you're supposed to go.